I read recently that the only job the elderly can get is a greeter at Walmart or United States president. Well, there's a long way until the next presidential election, but it sure looks like our next leader of the free world will be in their 80s before their term expires. Heck, Biden's already in his 80s and Trump's not far behind. Is being president really an old man's game? Our new survey says no, but voters are saying yes. What do you say? Hi, it's Jeff Hoyt, editor-in-chief of SeniorLiving.Org, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Corie Wagner. She is the senior editor of industry research here at Centerfield, so she deals with senior living and lots of our other websites. Welcome, Corie.
Hi, thanks for having me, Jeff.
Well, thanks for taking the time. So we're still early in the presidential campaign of 2024, but there are definite front runners involved. So you conducted a survey about Presidents Biden and Trump. What did that survey show?
So yeah, Trump and Biden currently are the favorites, the front runners in the upcoming presidential election. But we wanted to understand what people maybe thought about their ages because they are some of the oldest candidates in history. And most people think that Trump and Biden are too old to seek re-election. And people were a little bit more harsh on current President Biden than they were on former President Trump. So 59% of Americans believe that Trump is too old to seek re-election, and 69% believe Biden is too old.
So a majority in both cases, but worse for Biden, like you said. So
Right.
Senior living has an older audience. So as people get older, are they more willing to support an older president?
Yeah, that's what our research showed. Older Americans age 60 and above were a bit more accepting of both candidates than younger Americans were. And overall, though, people were more comfortable with President Trump's age and seeking his reelection than they were with President Biden's, even though President Biden is only about 4 years older than Donald Trump.
And when you look at along party lines, are Democrats more supportive of Biden than Republicans of Trump?
Yeah, exactly. Republicans, we found, were much more supportive of Trump and much more comfortable with his age than Democrats were of Joe Biden's age. More than half of Democrats believe that Joe Biden is too old to seek re-election, even though he's the leader of their party. And about a third of Republicans felt the same about Trump. So age was much less of a factor for him than for President Joe Biden.
It seems that if either one of the front runners win, we're going to have the oldest president in history.
That's correct, yeah.
And then Congress, I know we've had some younger members who get some press every now and then, but Mitch McConnell leads the Senate. He's 81.
Mhm.
Dianne Feinstein is 90, and she's had some health issues. And what do people think should be done about this? The fact that we're being ruled by old people.
Yeah, so we posed that question to our respondents as well in our recent research. We wanted to know if they thought that there should be age limits on presidential candidates and people serving in Congress. There are minimum age limits for almost all of the federal elected offices, but there isn't an upper age limit. So we wanted to see if people thought that that should be imposed. And we found that 72% of Americans thought there should be a maximum limit for both the president and Congress in terms of their ages.
Well, I'm no constitutional scholar, but I'm pretty sure there's a minimum age to be president, 35. What kind of
Yes.
maximum age are people supporting in your survey?
But we asked people what they thought the ideal age would be, and what the most popular max was up to age 79. So people think the cutoff for president should be between 70 and 79, and I think it was the same for Congress. And then a few other people said the max should be in the 60s, and 9% said it should be even lower in the 50s, which, I mean, most people are in the prime of their career when they're in their 50s. And most presidents of our country actually have been in their 50s. So that would be interesting to put the age limit at such a young age. But that's what about 10% of people thought.
We've got the median age of senators now is 65, which is much higher than it usually is. Usually it's in the 50s. And so it's not just the president, like we said, it's Congress. And if we start saying, okay, the minimum age to be president is 35, but the maximum age is 79 or 69 or whatever gets decided, isn't that just a form of age discrimination?
It's a really good question, and we posed that to the respondents in our study. And more than a third of them agreed that age limits are, in fact, discriminatory. If you think about jobs that do have upper age limits, like airline pilots or air traffic controllers, those are very physically demanding jobs, and you have to have really good eyesight. Jobs like firefighter, you might not want a very old firefighter carrying you out of a building. Um, but being president isn't a job that we might think of as being physically taxing. You need to be mentally sharp, and you have to, you know, be present for a lot of meetings and diplomatic, you know, roles, but it's not a physically imposing job. And age is honestly just a number. Everyone is different at different ages of their life. So maybe imposing an age limit wouldn't be fair, and we might be, limiting some really great candidates from leading the country.
Yeah, from what I understand, as president, you can just press a button and somebody brings you a Diet Coke, so it's not that physically rigorous. Uh,
Exactly.
so we'd have to see. I mean, yes, it depends on the person, but that brings up the point that we're voting for these people. There's a whole primary season. So it's like to set an age limit on someone, can't you just vote for a younger candidate? Can't you vote for somebody you think is the right age for the job?
Yeah, that's why showing up to vote is so important. All of us can, work together to shift certain people into power or shift others out who we don't feel represent us well. And people of all ages need to be taking voting very seriously to improve representation. If we want, younger people in office, or we want older people in office, it's up to us to all get out there and vote. But it is a bit more complicated than that. Because of campaign finances, voter turnout, things like incumbency advantage. The older you get and the more experienced you are, the more advantages you might have. You're having, many more years to fundraise, many more years to build contacts than maybe someone who's younger just getting into the political game. So those things combined have obviously played a role in the aging of Congress and of the presidency as well. But definitely don't give up and make sure you cast your vote for the candidates that you like best and you feel represent you best.
So leaving politics out of it, I agree everybody should vote. It is sad that millions of people don't vote, and maybe a quarter of the electorate gets to decide who's going to be president. But right now, there just haven't been any votes cast yet. So if
Mhm.
people really think that these two front runners are too old for the job, whether Republican or Democrat, it's like, why can't they nominate someone younger for the position? What's stopping people?
I think it's a very valuable thing to point out, and it shows that there is still time for us to maybe shift the election away from these two frontrunners. In the case of the Republican Party, there are a wide range of different people that are on the that are up for the office. They're, candidates. They want to enter the debates. So yeah, that's what's so interesting about this study is because people do overwhelmingly agree that the two leading candidates are too old, yet maybe younger or fresher candidates haven't, gotten as much support or even as much attention. But there is still time for the tide to maybe turn, especially in the case of, the Republican Party, since there are a variety of people of all ages that are up for the nomination. So I think if we want to have younger candidates, we need to start learning about, people who maybe aren't getting all the media attention at this point or who aren't as famous, and throwing our support, behind some of these other candidates, because there is still time and there is still, a possibility to put younger presidents or, just different perspectives into the White House at this point.
And there's an old saying, man plans and God laughs. It's possible that one or both of the candidates are hit with health issues because of their advanced ages, and all of a sudden people are scrambling for a younger candidate. I remember
Mhm,
a
mhm.
certain vice presidential candidate who had a heart attack while campaigning, and they sort of covered it up because they didn't want to hurt the ticket's chances. So the study is very interesting. And so, how do people learn more about it?
Sure. So you can head over to SeniorLiving.Org/research to find the whole study. We covered a few different topics relating to the ages of our elected leaders, and there's all kinds of other interesting research topics that you might find relevant and educational. So I'd encourage you to go take a look.
Great. And I would urge people who agree with the study or disagree with the study to let us know because we really want to hear what
Awesome.
you have to say. And thank you, Corey, for letting us hear what you have to say. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks so much.